Hello, I thought we'd do something slightly different on this channel. Normally we're covering more in-depth economic theses, ideas, research, but I thought we could do something a little bit different today, something a bit more light-hearted, a bit more fun, which is a trader's tier list. Before we get started, I just want to clarify this is for a little bit of fun. I don't mean to discredit anyone's work. This isn't meant to insult anyone or start any drama. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible, of course with my own personal opinions sprinkled in there. I should also mention that I don't really watch trading content. There are a couple of creators that I do watch regularly, which I will mention on the list. However, generally speaking, I'm not watching trading content. I'm listening to Spotify, watching shows, watching chess videos, whatever it is. So there are some things I might say that might be wrong, or I might not say that I should have mentioned that I just don't know about. So please don't take this too seriously. Again, it's just a bit of fun. It's just my opinions of what I've seen, all those types of things. This is just for some fun. So let's start. We'll work our way from the start to the end. So we'll start with Capital Hungry. Now, Capital Hungry, some of you may never have heard of him, actually. He does have a very large YouTube channel. He has a large following on X or Twitter as well. However, he's not very active on YouTube. He is very, very active on X or Twitter, though. He puts a lot of value out. He puts a lot of information out. Now, Capital Hungry is, what he does aligns very, very heavily with what I do. I've never really spoken to him too much. We've had a couple of crosses with mentions and a few DMs here and there, but I wouldn't say we're friends. Not because I don't like him, we're just not friends. I would say I have a massive, massive amount of respect for him, though. I think what he does is invaluable. He has clearly helped a lot of people. All you have to do is go onto his X and look at the comments under his post. You'll see so many people thanking him, saying how much he's helped them, or asking him questions. And he will always, or generally, unless it's a stupid question, he will generally try his best to help people as much as he can. And I really, really respect that. I think he's a great person. He's a very knowledgeable person as well. So automatically he goes in S tier. So for anyone that doesn't know how these columns work, or how I'm doing them anyway, S tier is like a trading icon. It's someone that absolutely deserves the flowers, someone that the space wouldn't be the same without them, and someone that people would miss if they disappeared. So that's kind of S tier, and then it works down. D tier is obviously someone that I just cannot see any value in whatsoever, someone that I think is just a pure I don't want to say scammer, but someone that just isn't worth the time in any way, shape or form. Someone that I think is just bottom tier. Now, I don't really think there is anyone on this list that does fall into that, but we'll get there. So next up, we've got Chris Pulver. Now, Chris Pulver is interesting because there isn't really any downside to Chris Pulver, and some of you may not even have heard of him. He's not big on social media, but he used to be on Trader Nick's streams very frequently along with me. Now, the only criticism of Chris Pulver is that he is too knowledgeable. He's too good at what he does. And that might not sound like a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing. But the problem with that is that people like me, I don't trade. Chris is very options based and very, very heavy into fundamentals. I love fundamentals, but even what he says sometimes goes over my head a little bit. He is very, very when I say institutional, what I mean by that is like his approach is a lot more institutional. The words he says, the way he explains things sometimes is not good for newer traders or people that just aren't in the same field as he is. However, if you are into options and you want to see a retail's professional side of things, I would say that Chris is absolutely worth paying attention to. But again, he doesn't upload any social media very often. I don't think his YouTube's very active, but as a trader, as a person, I think he is very, very solid. He's very good. He absolutely deserves his flowers. But again, because he's not very active on social media, I can't put him in that S tier. Now, again, I just want to highlight that's not a bad thing because, again, he's an adult, he's a professional trader, he doesn't need to be active on social media, but that means that there isn't that much for you to learn from unless you want to go and scrub through the live streams that he's featured in, which would, of course, be a little bit of a pain. Next up is the trading channel. Now, this isn't content I would watch in a million years because it is just very, very foundational. It's very basic, but saying that, it is of course information that newer traders might find interesting. So it's very much like, support and resistance, this strategy, that strategy. It's kind of just very bland, basic trading content that you would expect to see, sort of top of search funnel. It's just sort of watered down crap, but on that side, I can understand that newer traders do need this type of content. You know, a new trader can't come to my channel and understand what I'm doing. It's just not possible, because I'm not made, and I don't make content for new traders. I don't care about trying to teach people. I more care about trying to share information that people find interesting on economics and that type of side of things. So the trading channel, I can understand why people want to watch him, but for me and my audience and the sort of thing I aim for, it's not for me. But again, I understand, and I do see sort of the basic value in that, and in his content. Sorry. Next up, we have Trader Tom. Now, Trader Tom, I would say, is underrated, but also not at the same time. And when I say not, I don't mean he's overrated. He absolutely isn't. But I think he's underrated in the way that I just don't see people talking about him enough. I think he is an absolute legend in the trading space, the retail trading space specifically. But he doesn't seem to get the recognition he deserves. He has, I think 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. He gets 1,500, 2,000 views on his live streams every day, London session and New York session. But I don't see people, especially at least in my space, really. I've got a few members in my Discord that know him and do trade his style, but generally across social media, X and YouTube, just people don't seem to talk about him or mention him. And this is why whenever you see me talking about my breakout strategy, I will always say it's from Trader Tom. It's his strategy that I'm trading. If you want to learn it, go through him, go to his content. I don't have the resources on it that Tom does. I don't want to teach his strategy. Now, Tom is very, very good. He has a lot of data on his strategy. It is his strategy. He made it, and he's made millions and millions of dollars. This year, I think he's up, 900% on this, on the way he trades live on YouTube. There is nothing to take away from him. There is no downsides. I think the only thing I could say that is bad about Tom is that he is too invested in giving back for no reason. He doesn't charge for anything. There is no paywalls. He doesn't have a Discord. He doesn't make people pay to join his Telegram. Everything he does is free, apart from his book, which obviously is completely fine. But it seems he puts too much pressure on himself to appease people and to help people that may not. There is no reason for him to do that. So, for example, I don't want to get too far into this, but I will always try to help people to a certain extent. You have to set boundaries when you are creating content, especially at Tom's level. Of course, I'm not even close to the size of Tom in terms of followers or subscribers. But even I have set boundaries on how much I will do to benefit people. YouTube comments and Twitter tags or whatever, I'll always try to respond, but I'm not going to go into my DMs and try and guide someone through my whole strategy. If someone wants that type of time from me and that my mental energy, my mental peace, you have to be in my Discord, because then you're paying me to help you. Does that make sense? That's just a transaction of services. But again, I understand Tom doesn't want to charge people. He doesn't need to. That's completely cool. But he also should set those boundaries, because I've seen him allow people to invade his peace, his mental peace, way too much, and it seems to affect him too much. So he just needs to set those boundaries. But other than that, I think he's a fantastic person. He's got a very, very good heart. He's very funny. His strategy is very good. Everything he does for free. There is nothing I can really say against him. He's an icon in the trading space. So Alex, or FX Alex G. Now, this one also, I was thinking about it before I made this video. How do I really categorize these people? Because there were ups and downs to everyone. So for example, there's Alex. Alex's content is entertaining. I do have a little bit of a guilty pleasure for it, just like I do someone else on this list that I will mention as we get there. But his content is good. It's high quality. It's well edited. He's quite a funny person. He seems, when I say he's a good person, that's obviously a kind of subjective thing. How do you look at a good person? But put it this way, I would go for a drink with him. Sit down, have a chat as mates. That'd be cool. I don't have anything against him as a human being, but that's not really what we're ranking here. We're ranking the content and the value. Now, content-wise, I would say it's like a 9 out of 10. Again, it's well made, it's interesting, it's funny, it's high quality, but the value in that content is very, very minimal. He's an absolute marketing machine. He's a genius in that aspect. You cannot take that away from him. I mean, the $100 to $1 million challenge, regardless if you think it was real or not, handful of days after, I don't know exactly how long, he launches his bootcamp. He makes millions off his bootcamp. It's so smart. But again, that side of, is he real, is he fake, the value you actually get, not that really. I just can't give him the flowers. I don't think that there's enough to really say that he is a great trader. Content creator, a marketer, absolutely legendary tier, but again, that's not what we're doing here. So with Alex, I think the technical strategy he teaches is very good, actually. It's very similar to the way I trade. I trade break and retests. I also trade 50% retracements. But the problem with Alex, and the difference of why I think I get results and he may struggle, I don't know if he does, but I'm going to assume he does, is because he doesn't take into account why the markets would move. There's been there's been quite a lot of times actually where I've seen him on, whether it be Instagram stories or in his Telegram. I was in his Telegram for a while because I was watching his marketing strategy, where he'd take a trade, and I just could not for the life of me understand why he took the trade, because it was just so against what was actually going on in the world. So whether it be Fed cutting rates and this economy hiking or whatever it was, the path for the market was very clear, and he was just completely going against it. But again, the way into the market, the technicals are similar to mine. So I think he probably could actually be very successful in the markets if he just went out of his way to learn the economics. But of course, I understand why he doesn't. He earns a lot of money from what he does: ad revenue, mentorships, boot camps, whatever. So he doesn't really need to. He in theory could just never trade again and be very, very rich. So I understand, I get it. It's one of those things. But what I don't like is that he's also obviously dragging other people down that path. So I'm going to put him in C tier because I think he gives a lot less value than the TTC channel. But again, his content is very entertaining. It's very high quality. So if you want entertainment and you like the trading aspect, I think Alex is a good watch. If you're trying to actually learn something and you want to get serious value, you'd want to go down the more boring path, but the more valuable path of someone like Capital Hungry, for example. And you will notice this actually, the better the content in terms of value and knowledge, the worse the quality is in terms of production value. And that's a very common theme. You'll see this all throughout, and it's a very clear divide. And when I say worse quality, I don't mean that as an insult. It's just a very clear pattern. And that brings us on to ICT, actually talking about quality. So again, ICT I've got a little bit of a problem with, but so the problems with ICT are very obvious. Fake withdrawals. He launched a mentorship, said all the money, or a portion of the money would go to charity. That never happened. He calls people out on a daily basis. Join Robbins, and then never joins Robbins and backs out and then hides and doesn't do anything. There's if you go to Iman Trading's channel, he's got a host of videos against ICT, and they're all completely valid, good points. So as a trader, I cannot give ICT any points whatsoever. As an educator, however, I can, because although I don't think his concepts just work, I don't think it's as simple as watch all of ICT's 250-minute videos and you'll be profitable. That isn't the case whatsoever. I don't think you'll be profitable following ICT or watching his videos, but I think if you could pick out the nuggets of information here and there, you probably could get some value. And I'm not saying this because I've watched his videos. There's no way I'm taking my time to watch all of that. But from what I've seen people quoting him and the snippets I've seen uploaded, there are sometimes actually there is some pretty good information in those. And I can't deny that. And there's also the fact he has made a massive community. He is the core of a lot of people's careers. Now, there is also the thing of the law of large numbers, because ICT has millions of people trading his strategy. Of course, there are going to be outliers. It's like anything. So, for example, like JadeCap, I'm fairly sure he trades like an SMC ICT type approach. JadeCap holds the record for the largest prop firm payout. So there is that type of thing that, I can understand why people do like ICT, but as a person, as a human being, I hate him. And I know that's a strong word. I think he is bottom of the barrel, but I'm not going to put him in D just because of the other reasons I mentioned. I think that he is kind of a cornerstone, and the industry wouldn't be the same without ICT. Whether you love him or hate him, I think we have all got to understand that, yes, again, as a human, he might not be great. As a trader, he might not be great. But as an educator, there are certain things that, yes, do provide some value. Even I've been caught quoting ICT on a couple of occasions. By accident, I didn't know it was ICT. I was told after the fact. But even that, it's like, wow, I thought that was quite a good quote, and I didn't even realize it was from him. Even I have had really heated arguments with ICT on Twitter. And again, I can't sit here and just call him completely trash across the board. I think like 90% of what he does is bottom tier, but then that last 10% does redeem some of it, or at least a small portion. Anyway, let's move on. Lorenzo. Now, he's not really... I don't really know where Lorenzo is. I don't see him really that much. I've seen him on a couple of Instagram reels. The reels did intrigue me. He's well-spoken. The information he was giving was very accurate. I did see him on a YouTube live. I think once it was in my recommended. I think he trades just gold. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure he just trades gold. And again, I think he is a good trader from what I've seen. I don't know that much about him. His content seems very good. He's well spoken. His live streams are high quality. He has a very active community. I think on one of the streams he had about 1,000 viewers. So I'm going to put him in B tier. Again, I'm not taking away from anything he may have achieved. It's just because I don't know. I don't know really him as a person. I don't know that much about his content, but I do think he does give value, again, just from the small quantity of things I've seen. So he might be worth checking out. I can't remember his last name, but if you type in Lorenzo trading on YouTube, he'll pop up. It's like anyone on this list. You should be able to find them quite easily. They're all pretty large names on YouTube or Twitter. Next up, we've got Mamba. Now, Mamba falls into exactly the same thing I said about Alex. I think the content that Mamba makes is actually very entertaining. It's very high quality. I think Mamba, again, is a very funny person. And I would quite happily go for a pint with Mamba, go for a drink with him or a meal or something. But in terms of actually trading, I'm not sure you get that much. I think his educational stuff is very surface level. But again, I think it could be useful for people to start out. The downside to saying that is it's once you start watching Mamba, it's very easy to start, the same as Alex, to start that Lamborghini, Rolex trading lifestyle thing. And that's, of course, what they're trying to do. I get that. That's the marketing of what they do. And I don't like that, obviously. That's everything I stand against. But I think the content, entertainment side, the quality of it, and again, I think you can get some basic information from Mamba. I'm going to leave him in C tier. I don't think he deserves to go in scam because, again, I do actually enjoy his content just from an entertainment aspect. And I think there are some things you can learn from him. Nothing overly complex or anything crazy. But I think for newbies, maybe it's an okay place to just get some very, very foundational information. Now, next up we have Max's Options Trading, I think is his name. Now, similar to Lorenzo that I mentioned here, I don't really know that much about Max. Again, he popped up in my recommended on YouTube. I think it was a live stream repost or re-upload or something. I've also seen Max on Instagram Reels. He does a lot of reaction content, actually, similar to what I do on my Instagram. He seems like a very cool guy. He seems like someone I would go out for a drink with. He seems like a really nice person. His strategy is very similar to the one I trade by Trader Tom, which I trade what's called SRS, which is the school run strategy. Max trades what we call ARB. It's the same concept. It's a breakout on sort of the session. I think Max uses the candle before mine. So I think Max takes the opening session candle. I take the second candle. But the theory is pretty much the same. So I know that the strategy is solid, at least somewhat. And again, I think the information I have seen from Max has been good. So I'm going to put Max in A tier. Again, I don't know him as a person. I could be really off on this. I don't know really anything about him other than what I have seen. I've enjoyed. I do think there is value there. The moving average. Now, the moving average is very, very basic. It's basically the same as these other guys, mainly the trading channel. It's kind of the same idea in terms of it's very basic, very sort of foundational. When I say foundational, it's just what you would learn when you first start trading, your support, resistance, moving averages, that type of stuff. So there's value there, but it's definitely not high quality information. It's just what it is. You know, it's just what you need to know, not what you should know, if that makes sense. Or maybe that doesn't. Anyway, hopefully you get what I mean. The next up is Tori Trades. Now, Tori Trades has found herself in a lot of problems over the past year or so. Now, I've seen her. I really, really enjoy what I have seen, actually. Now, I feel very, very empathetic towards her because although, to put it bluntly, she makes a lot of money, but the money that she apparently has made, from what I've heard, comes at a very large expense of public, I don't want to say humiliation, that's a really bad way of saying it, but public scrutiny, I think, is the right way. She has a lot of haters. She has a massive fan base, but she also has a lot of haters. And trust me, I am not even a quarter of her size. Not even a quarter. I think I'm like maybe 1% of her size in terms of following. I struggle when I get hate comments. Not struggle like it makes me upset, but it gets to me a little bit. I don't know how she deals with it. I saw her upload a video the other day of like having 500,000 drawdown. And I was like, you know what? I really respect that because it does happen. You know, I mean, look at Lehman Brothers. If you look at some institutional fuck-ups that have happened, it's detrimental. It does happen. And it takes a lot of nuts, obviously not in her case, but you know what I mean, figuratively, to come out and do what she's done in terms of admitting it. But you know what I saw after that? I saw 2 or 3 videos just completely calling her out and just being so disrespectful. It kind of annoyed me, actually, because there's just no need. There is absolutely no need whatsoever. Anyway, we're going down a bit of a different track here, but in terms of her content, I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I've seen shorts, as in short form content, that I think is pretty good. She doesn't trade in any way that I do. She uses trend lines. I think she trades platinum and oil mainly. I don't trade those. She uses trend lines, futures. I don't trade that. It's very different trading to what I do, so I don't see that much of her. But again, from what I have seen, I think the information is relatively good. And I also think she has set some good standards in the industry. Not standards in like a literal way, but what I mean by standards is her content is well made. I don't know, I think she's pretty good, actually, to be honest. So I'm going to put her in S tier. And the reason I think I'm going to put her in S tier is obviously for the reasons I mentioned, but I also think that she does what she does and she doesn't give that much of a shit about what people say. So again, I saw her on Twitter once and her comments were brutal. They were just really, really bad. And she just uploaded a similar video the next day. She doesn't care because it worked, or at least I think it works. I don't know, but I like it. I like that she does what she does and she's very unapologetic for it. And she shows her human side, which I do respect because that's not very common in this space. It's, you know, I make money, I drive a Lambo, blah, blah, blah. There isn't really that human side of a lot of these people. Anyway, moving on. Last thing I'll say, and I don't know if I feel hesitant to say this, but I'm fairly sure she is the only, if not one of the only female traders that is in that echelon of exposure in terms of followers and audience. I don't know whether that contributes to the fact she gets as much hate as she does. Maybe. I'm not going to say that as a fact because I don't know. Anyway, people have different views. I think she's quite valuable to the space. Patrick Whalen. Again, futures, scalping, not my thing. I don't really see him. I follow him on Twitter, actually, because I think he went after ICT very heavily, I think maybe last year, and I found it quite entertaining, so I did follow him. Anyway, from what I have seen, he seems to be profitable. He seems to do very well for himself. At Christmas last year, I saw him he gave away, I don't know how, I think it might have been 10,000, might have even been more than 10,000 dollars worth of gifts to children. I can't remember if it was like an orphanage or whatever it was, but it was a very generous thing to do. It was a very, very humanitarian thing to do, which I really like. I know he's had his criticisms in the past. I think Iron Man Trading made a video about him, or he's featured in one. He's had his problems, he's had his controversies, but I think he does have a very large persona. You know, he's very loud, he's very in your face. But I think behind the social media thing, I think he is probably quite a good person. And I think he does make money because he's live streaming all the time to, I think, tens of thousands of people. So I'm going to put him in A tier because I don't know enough about him. But from what I have seen, he might be worth checking out. In fact, you know, sorry, I'm going to put him in B tier with Lorenzo because I think it's a similar situation. I've liked kind of what I've seen, but I don't know enough to say that they are, you know, they deserve the A or S tier. Next one is Words of Wisdom. Now, similar situation here. I think Words of Wisdom has been through a lot of controversy in the past, and it's well deserved. You know, I'm willing to say that. I was actually one of Riz's haters at one point. I really had a big problem with Riz. I called him out on Twitter a couple of times, and I'll be honest, I don't feel the same as I used to. I've kind of been turned around at the moment. So the only problem I have with Words of Wisdom right now is that his old content is still up, and the old content is what caused him a lot of these problems with the gurus that came on and made crazy claims like someone had a god-gifted strategy or whatever. And all of these videos are still up, and the problem with that is that new traders will still watch those videos and still get sucked into their services. So the problem hasn't gone, he's just stopped feeding the problem. Does that make sense? However, he did take on the criticism and he has leveled up his content. He now has some very, very good guests that do have very good information to share. So I do have to give him credit for that. But again, you know, there have been problems in the past, such as the prop firm. I'm not going to put that on his head because I think he had enough criticism. He had enough drama around that. Everyone knows about it. I'm going to just leave that in the past. So I'm not going to count that towards his rating. I'm going to put him in B tier. The reason I can't put him in A or S, to be honest, I think Words of Wisdom's name alone is in S, but I wouldn't say it's for all of the right reasons. I think that there are, again, the problems of the old content he used to make, and that is still up. That is a big problem in my opinion. But again, I'm willing to give him his flowers, and I'm willing to say that yes, he is doing a lot better in terms of the quality and the quality of his content that he's doing these days. I do have some respect for him these days. Not that he needs my respect, but yeah, I think that I respect the fact that he listened and he's doing better. Now we've got Trader Nick, the guy that basically built my channel. So of course I'm a little bit biased, but I'll get there. So Trader Nick, I think most people that are subscribed to me know Trader Nick more than they know me. They probably came to my channel, or you probably came to my channel because you saw me on Trader Nick's stream. I'm on the stream 3 days out of 5, normally maybe 2 days out of 5, depends on the week itself. And I think Nick is generally just a fantastic person. So there's a couple of different examples here. So there's I think it may have been 1 or 2 weeks ago as I'm making this video, I had a business idea and I wanted some other views. I needed to do a bit of market research. So I called Nick, or asked if Nick could jump on a call for 5 minutes. He gave me a brilliant breakdown and gave me some insights that no one else gave me. It was a very good call. It was very valuable to me. And he didn't ask for anything in return. He didn't make me pay for his time. He didn't hold any strings to it. It was just because he was helping me, and I did really appreciate that. Another example, I tried to do a 24-hour stream at one point to give away to people. So we were giving away some memberships and some cash. Nick came on just because he wanted to. You know, again, he didn't want anything in return. He came to talk to my viewers. He let me take a break because obviously it was a long stream, and he didn't ask for any payment or anything in return. It was just because he wanted to come on and help, and I really appreciated that. There's also the other fact that he is it's undeniable. He is one of, if not the best trader in the trading space, in my opinion, especially the retail trading space. The value he gives out, the live streams, everything he does is just really good. Of course, there's criticisms. You know, there's some people that complain he advertises too much. I'm going to be honest. He does advertise a lot. He does, but what's the problem with that? Everything you get in life isn't for free. So TV is a good example. You know, some TV channels, at least in the UK, are free to watch. The payoff is that you watch the ads. There's a lot of things that if it's free, normally there is some sort of catch, and in this case it's ads. And it's the same as all of the content creators. I don't charge for these YouTube videos. I don't have, in fact, I think you can join the membership, whatever. I don't care about that. If I'm completely honest, I would rather you join Elite Traders. That's why I make these videos. It's marketing, and I get to help people at the same time. So it's a win-win. Do you know what I mean? It's the same for Nick. I think the trading space would not be the same without him. I think there would be a big hole and a big gap without Nick. He fills in a big sort of demand, which is real trading, a lot of content, and real valuable information. He's kind of like Capital Hungry, but on YouTube. They fall under a very similar umbrella in terms of the very economic base. The content is just great, and they are good people. So I don't think there's really anything else to say about Nick. He's built a very, very good community. He's built a great company. He's a good person. He's very humble. And of course, I'm a little bit biased. Nick has done a lot of things for me. He's been very generous to me. So yes, maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think what I've said has been objective. I don't really think there's much of a rebuttal there. Anyway, we'll move on. So we've got Sam KB, or KB Sam, I'm not sure what order it goes in, to be honest. But Sam actually is a phenomenal trader. He's a really, really good person. I've watched, I can't remember what it was. I think he did an interview actually, or a podcast with Words of Wisdom. It was a while ago. It popped up and I just thought, yeah, I'll watch that. I like Sam, and I like Words of Wisdom now, so I'll watch it. Anyway, Sam is a very, very good person. I think his moral compass is right. I'm a little bit envious of that, actually, because he's a very religious person. I don't have that. And he seems to be on a very, very clear, straight path, and I'm a little bit jealous. Not in a bad way. I envy it in a good way. But I think he's also a very good trader. He's very statistical, very price action based. He does give out some good information. When I say some good, I don't mean he gives up bad information. I just mean he's not as active with the education, for example, like Capital Hungry, or like Tom, or like Nick. A lot of his YouTube videos are more like day in the lives and stuff like that. So I can't put him in S tier, although I think he is great. I think maybe he couldn't do with it, but I think to be in S tier, really, there should be a bit more of a educational side. Although I completely understand he doesn't want to do that. That's fine. I'm not saying he needs to, but in my opinion, that would be a little bit of a boost up there. I think the reason he doesn't do it is because, again, he's very statistical and data driven. He can't really just give all that away for free. So I understand. I get it. Anyway, we're on the last two. We've got the Trading Geek and TJR. So Trading Geek, I think, falls under, again, the same category as the moving average or the trading channel in terms of it's just sort of bland. It's just beginner surface level stuff. There isn't really anything to say. There is that problem, he recycles other people's content. From a viewer's point of view, it doesn't matter. I don't care about that. From a content creator's view, obviously that is really bad, but I don't care. But I think I don't know really what to say about him, because he does show a lot of profits and things. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. Probably not, but I don't have the evidence to say that. I think he's just a kid trying to make some money, and I think he does make a lot of money. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I think he's just a guy that found a niche and exploits it. Whether you want to hate him for that or not, I don't really care. I don't really see any value in his content beyond the surface level basic stuff. TJR. Now, some people might assume, just like ICT, that I'm going to put him in D. That's not true. I think from an objective view, TJR is actually a very big cornerstone of the industry these days. So his content, now I don't really watch him. I don't really watch his YouTube videos or his streams or anything like that. I think some of the information he gives that I've seen is pretty good. I've been very critical. I've done some reaction reels on him before, and in the reaction reels, I like to be overly critical. It helps get some more comments and views and things. That's a marketing move. But really, if I'm completely honest, I actually don't have that much of an issue with him. He's very funny. He's very entertaining. He's done very well for himself very quickly in this space. However, the same problem that I've seen with Mamba FX and sort of Alex is that it's just lifestyle based. It's a lot of, oh, I bought I think it was a McLaren or something. He bought some crazy car a few weeks ago. It's all just marketing stuff. It's all lifestyle stuff. On the other hand, I do see very often actually comments of people saying TJR made me profitable, TJR this, TJR that. I don't think they would be saying that if they didn't get value from him. People on the internet are brutal. They wouldn't stick up for someone that they didn't actually get something from. So I do have to consider that. Now, he did do a boot camp. Again, I've not watched it. I don't even know how long it is. But I think the boot camp does have some good information from what I've heard. So I'm going to put him in... Oh, it's tricky because half of me wants to put him in C tier, but I'm going to put him in B tier. Now, there are obviously downsides. He does a lot of meme coin trading on live streams from what I've seen. Do people actually make money from that? I know obviously he will, because he buys, then the audience buys with him, it pumps the price, then he will sell, then the audience sells. But that is exactly how pump and dumps happen. So I don't know if that is him actually making money for his viewers and they do well off that, or if he's using his viewers as exit liquidity. Either one could be very true. I don't know. I've never watched. I've never even seen any really mention of it, so I'm going to assume it's fine. But yeah, it's a little bit of a problem. But again, I don't have any proof or any evidence or anything to say that bad things are happening there. So what I want for you to do is to go in the comments and tell me, who would you move on this list and who would you add and where would you add them? Because I've tried to be objective. I know I have a little bit of a history, especially on Twitter, in fact mainly on Twitter, of being very toxic and aggressive towards a lot of the ICT SMC community mainly. However, I'm going to be a little bit more open here. Where I come from in trading is very different from where most people come from. So in Elite Traders, we have a Series 65 regulated trader. He runs, and he's basically an asset manager. He's very professional. And we've also got an institutional analyst that's actually just moved abroad to start a new job in a bank or on a trading floor as an analyst. So coming from that environment, going to X and seeing all of these kids, these young people talking about crazy things like IFVGs doing this and making all of that and doing whatever, it was just it was a very, very new experience for me, really. And I kind of went a bit crazy, you know, a bit of an ego trip, and I didn't really know how to do it. Anyway, I'm not on Twitter anymore, really, but you know, it was a phase, if you will. So now I'm doing this, and I want to be objective without my biases and really too much personal opinion. This is mainly going off what I have seen and what I think of what I've seen, not off just my general perception of that person. And I've tried to be fair. So for example, like Wisdom, I've tried to not bring his past up and to try and drag him down, because I don't think that's fair. People are always making mistakes. It happens. People are always trying to do better. Whether it be for personal gain, it doesn't matter. As long as, you know, Wisdom might be making 10 times the money now. I don't know if he is. This is a complete theoretical. But in that case, it's a win-win. Riz is doing better content for the viewers, and he might be making more. He might be making less. I don't know. But either way, I think we've got to, or I've got to be as fair as possible when doing this, because again, it's meant to be a little bit fun. I've tried to not be overly critical of people, and I've tried not to shit on people's names or discredit their work, because again, you know, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort to make content. It does take a certain level of confidence to put yourself out there, put your face and your name out there and tie it to your work. It's tricky. There isn't really many other jobs you would do that unless you were, you know, a celebrity or whatever it may be. And in the trading space, it's specifically hard because people see what you're doing all the time. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent here, but again, I wanted to give flowers where they're due to everyone, really. I didn't want to try and take away, but I also had to account for things that may be problems. So guys, have a good one. Again, it's meant to be fun. Please don't get offended. If anyone that is on this list is watching, please don't be offended. I don't doubt you are, but anyway, guys, have a good one. Stay safe. Don't get margin called, and have a good day.